Here we are.
Hey guys.
Aftermath. Episode 22.
I think we're both just sitting here
Season
kind of
7.
Shell-shocked.
A little. I think we're reeling a little. It was a lot to take in.
It was, and I think both of us are kind of just hanging on this thread right now.
And it's really intense because it's like, tonight's our second last one of the season. I mean, there's only 2 more episodes left, one more night.
Yeah.
You know, and we're still no closer to feeling...
No, you know what?
And of course, I mean, I'm not saying we should be, because of course we shouldn't be, otherwise we'd be sitting here whining, going, it's so fucking boring, but, you know.
It's kind of bizarre, like, they really took us for a ride this time. There was, you know, the threat of that bomb going off.
Which they neutralized.
Which they neutralized right away, so you're like, you know, you were like, shit's going, excuse my language, going down this, this episode, and we were like, yeah, big stuff's happening, and then it kind of didn't happen in the direction we thought it would, and then big stuff in this direction happened, and it's just bringing my emotions for a massive roller coaster.
Very emotional, very, like you say, a roller coaster.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I was on the edge of my seat, like
really, like,
the whole time, but for many different reasons. Like, I thought the opening sequence was, you know, obviously the episode was gaining steam, but Calorie really nailed it. Like, that slow build with that sort of, like, bassy tone that he almost, I think, reprised from the very beginning of the season, when there was all of that sort of, like, low heartbeaty type stuff.
Yeah, I was kind of thrilled that you mentioned Calorie when you did, because right when they were testing the dispersal mechanism, whatever you want to call it.
We've dubbed it dispersal mechanism. That is the official name.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, as soon as they were testing it, Calorie's music just really swelled into the frame. It really became obvious, and I was like, oh, good job, yeah.
Totally.
And then it wasn't like 5 minutes later that you commented on it. I was like, yeah, I'm not the only one that...
Yeah, I turned to Kat and I was just like, you know what? I'm like, Calorie is kicking ass right now. And Kat's like, I know.
I know. You know, really hitting the nail on the head when it comes to that gut-wrenching difficulty, panic, confusion that's happening right now, face-to-face with the darkest stuff you can contemplate. You know, in your Jack's face-to-face with it, Tony's face-to-face with it, which we'll talk about, because there's lots to talk about.
There were moments in this episode where I feel like the show has gotten darker than it's ever been. Like, even in the darkest days of Jack and Nina.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Because Nina was a full turn, and, you know, once you write her off as bad...
That's it.
That's it. Yeah. Whatever she does is dastardly and evil and gross and disgusting.
And whatever mixed motives there are with her and Jack, they are what they are, but at the end of the day, she is who she is, and there's no question of that, right?
Yeah.
Whereas, like, with what they've done with Tony this season, where you take this established character who is, like, good and righteous and you know, like upheld as, like, you know, a white hat, you know, in the realm of the show, and just, like, fuck with him in this way, and just, like, make you question, like, everything you ever knew about the character and what could possibly be motivating the character, given that, I mean, they've been very vocal about how they see this evolution as organic, and that there are reasons and motives for why he's done what he's done. But we have yet to really explore them.
Yeah.
So... Anyway, very, very dark.
Dark in another way, too. You know, we were talking about the actions of Tony tonight pertaining to the theory. What does it mean? What's he going through internally? And there's a darkness that lies in the choices that he's being forced to make, or that he's choosing to make, that he's taking upon himself. Okay, this is if the theory is holding true. He's crossing so many lines within himself, society at large, everything that's held as some kind of internal rule is being broken for something that's so totally vital and compelling, whether it's bad or good. So I see him seeing himself, watching himself, observing himself.
Yes, and it's so important to watch that stuff, like watch as the character observes himself, because that's really the only clues we're getting right now as to why he's doing what he's doing, right? So, I mean, obviously the crown jewel of the episode, not to blow my load too early, but...
Yeah, no.
Was, you know, obviously the confrontation
between Jack and Tony.
Between the two brothers, you know.
Yeah.
super intense.
It was so funny because you and I were just like up on the
I know,
bed,
as soon as it happened, I know, like, because usually we lay back and we, like, relax and have our pillows and that, but both of us were just like, what's happening?
Yeah, we were glued, and it did not disappoint.
No, it didn't. Oh my god, both actors just blew my mind.
Really, they both nailed it. There was such an...
god. When Tony just, like... When Jack's like, you know, I'm gonna kill you because I have nothing left to lose, and Tony's like, you think I have anything left to lose? Just do it. Mm-hmm. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
Yeah.
Like, that is intense Jack-Tony action right there.
Oh, and the punching, just unloading all that rage on... It was kind of like...
But before we should talk about the whole piece of crap comment, because that happened before that scene.
That was painful.
Yeah, and that happened right before commercial, I think.
Yeah.
And I just turned to Kat and I'm just like, oh, it's a knife in my heart.
Yeah, it just hit hard. Like,
it's so painful.
What did he say? Take care of that piece of crap?
No, he said, lock that piece of crap down. That was the phrase, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh! No, I'll say it again. Oh, knife in the heart!
Yeah, really, really disgusting stuff. And
so very, very dark. Very dark. And then Kat and I had this big, long discussion about, you know... I mean, well, it would be insane for Jack not to feel this way, given everything that's happened and what he's seen.
What's his alternative, really?
And it's just kind of like, even though, like, us as fans want to have that faith in Tony, like, you know, doing the theory and what have you, we're rocking the theory! Yeah, no, you know, we really want to have that faith that, you know, that the writers, the character, the show isn't going to disappoint us. And
well, you know, and I was saying...
And so it's like you want Jack to have that faith, too, just to justify your own faith,
yeah,
right?
But he's got no choice.
But
of
course not. No.
If he's got faith in Tony, what are his actions going to be? If he has some kind of suspicion that Tony's got something, that he's the...
Well, no, of course he doesn't. He has no faith and no reason to have any faith. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it's just painful on an emotional level as a fan to see this.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously that's what they're going for. Like, they want us to go through this agony of seeing Jack and Tony just, you know, like, I mean, I think we said in 718 when Tony killed Larry that it's like, you know, and then maybe it was after 719 actually when Jack and Tony kind of had the confrontation, but, you know, you said something like, I just want them to just, like, really go for it, like, just tear them both down, and I was like, yeah, I totally agree, like, let's just rip them both, like, rip the whole thing wide open and just tear them both down, just destroy them both, and that's what they're doing.
They're doing that right now. Yeah.
Yeah, no, the scene, you know, going back to, like, after the piece of crap comment, the knife in the heart. You know, the confrontation when Tony's sitting on the steps and Jack approaches him, and then it's just kind of like, holy crap. Like, it was so perfectly written. Like, the dialogue was perfect, the timing was perfect. I mean, the expression on Carlos Bernard's face, where he kind of, like, smiled, sort of, but, like, really, like, it was like a grimace, and then he goes... you think I have anything left to lose, Jack? Oh, yeah. So amazing! Like, it totally blew me away.
So, what did you guys feel about Tony's expression? I was commenting to Kasha earlier that to me it really read as a mixture of either maybe both malevolence and or
self-hatred. Yeah, self-loathing. Yeah,
and you know, just disgusted with himself for what he's had to do, watching it all play out. Maybe
the lengths that he has gone to. Like, there has to be one big motherfucking motive behind all this.
Yeah.
And it's like I was saying to Kat kind of before we turned on the camera that I'm not really sure where I stand anymore vis-a-vis the theory. Like, I think the theory could still hold true, but I mean, given this latest episode, and I mean, like, that scene, like the just the darkness and the intensity of it, and then this whole kind of thing with fake lawyer and Kim and her people and blah blah blah. You know, I was saying to Kat, well, you know, I mean, it could, like, is it possible that Tony could not be involved in this?
And maybe it's just.
And then I thought, you know, but where else could it have come from? Like, he's the only one who had access to that information.
And then the look on Tony's
But I mean,
face
it was, that
and
absolutely confirmed it, like, at the very end. So, I mean, he knows about this Kim plan. it's hard to swallow him putting Kim at risk for leverage.
Yeah.
Really tough. It's very dark.
Yeah.
Very, very dark stuff.
I don't know, this is...
I still do think that, you know, he has an end game. Like, he has an end game, he has an agenda, and I still think that it could possibly be exposing the people that are behind,
but, you know,
that are involved in this group.
If they were going to illustrate, though, the difference between Jack's MO and the picture they were trying to paint of Jack during the first episode, you know, you've gone too far, blah, 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 so many lines have been crossed, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
If you want a picture of what Jack is arguing he did versus the bad guy they were trying to make him out to be, Tony, essentially, right now, is an illustration of that. Crossing the lines, betraying, going too far for an objective. He's the foil. He's the direct reflection.
Yeah. And that's what he was in the very beginning. So maybe it's like kind of coming full circle a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
From a literary standpoint.
I mean, that would...
Oh, I wanted to touch on, sorry, before we leave this whole intense Jack Toniness, that what we were talking about the why did you betray me line.
Oh.
Because it's like I was saying, I thought that scene was totally scripted perfectly because, you know, at first Jack's all like, you know, anger, like rage, like, just like, can you, like that scene, like, holy crap, like when he punched the crap out of him.
It reminded me of
just
Shooting Nina is what it reminded me of.
Very much so. Like, just absolutely no holding back. Like, he was totally unloading, like, everything. Yeah. Everything he's been through, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not just today, but, like, unloading it all.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
And Tony didn't even fight back. He just sat there and took it.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally Jack stops and, you know, he's like... it's so broken down, and he's like, why did you betray me? Like, I just need to know why? And Tony, no response, because he can't provide a response, because
and so here you and I are thinking, because we're thinking that Tony's
thinking that because I haven't betrayed you, Jack, I just can't tell you that.
I would love it if that were the case. That's what was going through my mind.
Yes.
Because there's no way, like, at that moment, he would not be able to reveal anything.
No.
And he wouldn't try to make up some excuse to give Jack an answer simply for the sake of bringing...
So, you know, I don't think that we can rule the theory out at all at this point.
No, I don't think it's been disproven yet.
I don't think it's been ruled out at all, but it's getting dark. Very, very dark. Like, this whole stuff with Kim at the end, like, is really... it's really pushing things. Like, it's testing things, you know, and the look on Tony's face when fake lawyer was talking to Jack, Tony knew exactly what was going on.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like, if whatever his objective is, whether it's exposing the group, whether it's something else that has yet to be revealed that we don't know, whatever it is, it's obviously, like, the only thing he cares about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know?
I do think that the writers are trying to make a real point here of illustrating, you know, Jack's crossing lines, etc. Really were all on one level. It was all about torture to extract information, or risking something big to try and, you know, stop something else from happening.
Jack's killed people. I mean, he killed Marshall Gorin. He decapitated the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, not exactly like that guy was innocent, but Jack still had no right to do that.
No.
He shot Miriam Henderson in the leg. She'd done nothing.
No.
You know, he put a gun to Chase's head and pulled the trigger, not knowing if it was loaded or not.
Mm-hmm.
So
why does it feel then that Tony is going somewhere that Jack hasn't?
Because we expect more from him. And because I do think he's gone places Jack hasn't gone. Mm-hmm. I mean, oh, God. I mean, Jack and Tony have both obviously killed people in cold blood. Mm-hmm. Okay? You know, we saw Tony do it with Larry. We saw him gun down 2 FBI agents. Mm-hmm. We've seen Jack do it too. But when Jack does it, it's always to bad people.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Nina and Marshall Gorin and... you know, there's other examples. Even Victor Drazen.
Yeah.
You know, Christopher Henderson.
Yeah.
Like, you know, both of them were unarmed. He could have taken them into custody, but he wanted revenge, so he killed them. But no one blames him for that because they were bad people who had wronged him, or, you know, they were bad people who could have killed again, or they were bad people who deserved to be punished. Mm-hmm. Whereas... whether or not Tony's motives at the end of the day are any more or less righteous than Jack's would have been in any given situation, you can't write off the people that Tony's killed in the name of the mission as just...
or who was prepared to kill.
Yeah, exactly. Like, nothing was going to stand in his way. It didn't matter, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like, whatever his objective is, which we still don't know 100%, whatever it is, it's more important to him than absolutely anything or anyone. You know, and it's getting very, very dark. I'm loving it, though. Like,
well, I'm finding myself engaged in a way that I haven't been in a long time.
But it's very painful, and I just really hope that, like, what the writers are trying to do is put us through this pain and this agony of seeing this unfold, only to at least offer some kind of catharsis at the end, right? Because, I mean, I'm actually very glad that the final arc, like the last 2 episodes, aren't going to be all about, oh, well, we have to stop the weapon, we have to stop the weapon. Like, they got the weapon, they got the weapon out of the way, the bio-threat's over, innocent lives are no longer at stake. You know, unless you count Kim, but, you know, the rest of what happens is all very personal.
It's all about relationships.
Yeah.
You know what? We were saying that halfway through, like, I don't know when it was, maybe season 5 or so. We were talking about how there was a lack of real interesting stakes or any kind of relevant comment or theme, because nothing had to do with relationships, with interconnectedness, with anything personal whatsoever, right? And
no struggles, and this is all struggles.
It's all like, struggle, yeah.
It's so, like, I know I keep saying dark, but that's just how I feel.
It is, it's really, really dark, and it gets right down to the middle of what these conflicts are all about humanity.
Because I think, like, in a way, I mean, seasons 5 and 6, like, season 5 obviously had a lot of good points, because it did have a lot of fans, and that's a valid viewpoint. I mean, it's not my viewpoint, but it is a valid viewpoint. But, you know, in and around sort of that sort of second chunk of seasons, like 4, 5, and 6, in ways I thought sometimes the show, while it would still go to a dark place, did it in a way that was almost a caricature, so that it was so far removed from anything real, like humanly real, that you can just wave your hand and write it off and go, oh well, it's blockbuster entertainment.
Yeah.
But this is not that.
No, because that was plot darkness. That was intrigue darkness. That was how much shit can we make blow up, and how many...
But even the stuff Jack was doing, like, you know, torturing his own brother with a plastic bag, and, you know, all that kind of stuff, it's just kind of like, you know, pulling Bierko out of a burning gas plant without a scratch on him, like, that kind of stuff. I mean, so bombastic and larger than life, and you know, so no matter how violent it gets, you can still just turn around and go, oh, well, you know, there's nothing real to it. Whereas this shit, this dark stuff right here, you can grab it.
Yeah. This is really
visceral. This is what the season's been building to. Like, everything with Tony, like, all of this stuff, you know, the kind of, like, tension between he and Jack all throughout the day. You know, that sort of, like, inkling in Jack, that little seed of doubt, that nagging voice, right? It's all been building to this final sort of, like, crazy catharsis. Like, catharsis will happen, whether it's in the way we want it to or not, I don't know. But,
no, but something,
But it's building to a real kind of, like, emotional conclusion to the season, which is exciting to me. So
no, I would say so too. Speaking of emotional catharsis, I'm really, really pulled in by Olivia.
Oh my god, yes, she's so fucked.
Oh my god, her panic, her sickening panic right now, and watching her go down like this.
Very, very fucked.
You know, she went, I think she just sort of got drunk on what she was capable of, her connections.
Yes, that's such a good way to phrase it, for sure, because it's like this girl who's, you know, so ambitious and so self-confident and, you know, believes she can,
you know, she just thinks she's the
take everybody on, you know,
she's got all these big fat tools right in her toolkit, right?
Totally.
She's like, you know, whatever happens, I got this hammer and I got that.
The first kind of, like, real little taste of power she had, like, she got drunk on it and fucked up, and so her mom kicked her out of the campaign.
Yeah.
And then she's back in the fold, and, like, how fast does it all just flood in again? Like, you know? And
just because she's got the combination of of intelligence, of ambition, and of emotion at the same time. And so there's not a balance there. There's all the other gifts she has simply serve to enable her emotion, it gives her something to do with her emotions. Instead of bringing them down to a rational level where she can control them, her emotions now use the tools that she has. Her emotions use her intelligence. Her emotions use her connections. It seems to me that she'll get to a peak, to a level of panic or a level of righteousness, and then just
reel it right back in. Well, I thought that scene between she and Collier was very interesting. There was a lot of subtext going on. It's still unclear to me whether or not Collier got the voicemail she left for him, indicating that she no longer wished to go through with the plan, before or after he talked to the assassin himself.
Yeah.
I was positing last week that Collier actually paid the assassin himself in order to basically ruin her.
Yeah, and I think at this point it wouldn't really matter whether or not he paid. I think probably he found this assassin, said right from the very beginning, this is going to happen.
Yes.
And she's good for the money. It all happened in the same conversation.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
So then, because he was 100% certain, and he knew that, he probably could feel
didn't he say, though, that the assassin contacted him after the funds didn't come through and said, where are the funds? And then he said, don't worry, just go through with it. She's good for it. Oh,
that's right. Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, I definitely think he obviously set the wheels in motion here. He first went out of his way to plant seeds of doubt in her mind. And then when, those seeds of doubt took shape and she actually changed her mind, he made sure that she went through with it.
He wants to bring her down.
I think he does. I think there's something going on there.
Yeah.
But I think it's great that Pierce has figured this all out and that he's brought Kanan back into it.
The picture.
Kanan's probably just super thirsty for blood right now. So, Olivia's a little bit in over her head. Like I said, she's a little bit fucked.
Yeah.
Just
a tad.
But, I thought it was really interesting how, she was so panicked when she met with him, and, she's screaming her head off and whatever.
The way she's able to pull
and then
herself
he's just kind of exactly, and he's just I need to know you can do this. And then she's like, I can do it. And then the way that she worked Pierce, I thought it was actually great that, because I was saying to Kat, I'm like, wow, she's good, because Pierce totally sold that he was buying it, but then as soon as she closed the door behind her, I was like, do you think Pierce bought that? Kat's like, no. And then he whips out his cell phone.
I could kind of see it in his mouth, that kind of half smile. He wasn't totally...
There were moments, Yeah,
because his eyes weren't completely softening, and his smile wasn't completely genuine. He was really reserving himself and trying to sell her on him being sold, and that read a little bit. He did a good job of giving us some little hints there.
I thought so too. Yeah. So.
And Pierce isn't dumb. He can't be played. He can't be, because he, out of anybody in the 24 universe, is 100% righteous. He's
no question about his loyalties ever, no matter what.
No, so he's not going to be manipulated by...
No.
People trying to...
And I wonder if he's even trusted Olivia from the very beginning. Maybe at first, but as soon as he started to get an inkling of
what... it's because he's part of the Palmer thing. Palmer was good people, and so...
I liked how Aaron dropped Palmer's name again. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
Fuck. So tonight was pretty intense. I don't know... What are our predictions for the finale? Tony, live or die.
Oh, God.
I mean, I don't even want to think about the possibility of Tony dying, only for selfish reasons, because, Tony goes...
Well, that's not then.
Yeah?
I don't feel confident making a prediction, honestly.
No, I don't either. I'm still on the fence. I have been basically since even before episode 18.
Which is kind of cool to not know. It's kind of cool. Predictions. Okay, you know what? I'm just going to say the theory stands strong.
My gut's telling me Tony's going to live. I think that the writers have come too far with the character this season to simply just kill him off.
Yeah, he's too strong. He's way too strong.
So prediction from me, Tony lives.
I think the ramifications of Tony living in season 8 are very interesting. I think it's worth pursuing because...
And sorry, go on. I'll finish after.
Sure, yeah. Okay, so let's say things get really ugly between Jack and Tony the way they are now. Let's say the theory holds true. But Tony has gone so far that there's a ton of difficulty still existing between Jack and Tony. There's so much damage done.
Yeah.
And now he's alive to somehow try to deal with that damage in season 8. I think I would be more interested in seeing that.
Me too.
You know?
Me too, than seeing Jack kill Tony.
Yeah. Because what would be left then? There would be Jack bouncing around in season 8 trying to what?
But I mean, really, like, they're really pushing it with this whole Kim thing.
Yeah.
You know, unless somehow Tony ends up saving her.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. Fuck, I don't know. I do not know. Okay, so predictions. Tony, I predict live. As for Tony's motives, what's your prediction? Righteous or dastardly?
Warped.
Warped.
I would say, there's something
righteous in his mind.
And it's been skewed by what he's been through since he died.
But I think Jax has too, though.
Yeah?
Yeah, I do.
Mm-hmm.
You know? God.
I don't know. I think there's going to be good, compelling arguments on Tony's side. But there's going to be a huge, massive but. Like, but you did this and you did this and but. Like, you really messed things up, Tony.
Well, his motives are the key. I mean, obviously, like, they've neutralized the threat. So there is no, like we were already talking about, there is no more, innocent people are going to die. This is all about now peeling back the layers of what Tony's motives are. We've still got a lot of stuff floating around out there. We've got the group. We've got... the possibility of maybe connections to people from past seasons. We've got Michelle's death and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, they could go a lot of different ways with it. But, I mean, this whole kind of, like, thing that fake lawyer has set up where Jack has to help Tony escape, otherwise Kim dies, is so reminiscent of so many, Tony breaking Jane out of CTU to save Michelle, and Jack breaking Kate out of CTU, and Tony stopping him at gunpoint, and, et cetera, et cetera. And, so obviously there's going to be some really intense Jack-Tony action happening in the final 2 episodes.
Oh, absolutely.
I think as they spend this time together and events unfold, that we will get a lot of what's going on in Tony's head through dialogue between them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I hope for. So
yeah, I would have to agree. I'm really itching for a moment. I like to say the moment, but that sounds too confident. Where Tony somehow communicates something to Jack that tips Jack off.
Yes.
I'm just itching for that, and kind of like the Deep Sky thing. But is it going to happen? I don't know if they're going to give that to us.
And I still don't know whether, even at the end of the day, if, Tony's endgame is to expose the group and he does bring Jack in on this and it does happen and what have you, whether it'll be enough for Jack. Like,
I mean, talking about that before.
Bonds have been, it's something we've touched on numerous times because it's been addressed, numerous times in what's happened on screen.
And that's why I think it would be more useful for him to live at the end of this season.
For sure. Well, I mean, come on, writers. Like, would you really go to all the trouble of bringing him back? This, working overtime to make credible this completely and utterly incredible, in the absolute literal sense of the word, situation.
Yep.
Work so hard to get us to buy back in.
Yeah.
Only to turn around and just fucking blow it.
And slap us in the face with that. And
it's too much work just to redo a death that you fucked up the first time.
Yeah. That's how I feel.
So I think it's,
I think it speaks to the theme of the season, what they've been trying to illustrate this whole time. They've been trying to flesh out and explore this idea of boundaries, of lines, of morals. And I really think that what they're doing with Tony is all playing into that, illustrating it beautifully, and there's more to say other than just, okay, here's a twist to get you riled up kind of thing.
Totally. And I think, 24 is classified a lot in the press as a show that pushes boundaries, and I think that is true. But I think that at a certain point, they stopped pushing boundaries and just started going bigger and bigger and more bombastic and more,
I think
more in your
realized...
face. And then, but they weren't really pushing any boundaries that makes the audience go, wow, like I haven't felt that before, or, you know, I don't know what I think about this or how I feel about this, or, you know, if that was me, what would I do, or this sort of kind of ideological, psychological, spiritual, what have you,
you know, and
debate,
I'm really impressed that they've come around to realizing what kind of boundaries still exist for a viewer and for television making, because during those last 3 seasons that we weren't too crazy about, I was trying to think, now, where could 24 possibly go that would really get me the way the first 3 did? Where could they, and I couldn't think of it in my own head, and I would just have loved to be at the coffee shop or the bar or whatever where one writer said, oh my god,
yeah,
I know what we can do. Like, because this is really pushing us as viewers.
It is. And as Tony fans, and I feel very gratified, like, as sort of someone who's been on the Tony train since the beginning, that this is going on.
And I would like to think, I don't know, maybe it's fantasy, but I would like to think that for the actors involved, it's pushing boundaries for them too.
Well, I have no doubt. I mean, I don't think that Carlos would have been as vocal in the press about, you know, his support and you know, how he feels like, you know, his integrity is really, like, high in this season, and that this season has a lot of integrity, and that, you know, that the fans should open their minds again and you know, just...
You know, I had a thought about Carlos's assertion that Tony is not bad.
Oh, because in that extra video spot, they had a bunch of sort of sound bites of various people going, well, why is Tony so evil? Blah blah blah. And then he said, and I quote, Tony is not evil.
He's not evil.
Oh.
And
he was laughing at the time, but you know.
No, but I was thinking about it because they're bound to not say certain things or to not reveal certain things.
Absolutely.
And I was like, okay, so Tony's not evil. What does that mean when he's saying that? It doesn't mean that what Tony has done is good.
Or forgivable.
Yeah. It doesn't mean that Tony's a good guy. It simply means that there's good reason for what he did, that he feels justified, that this all has a purpose.
Yes. And in terms of the show making a statement, you know, season comprehensive.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
The only other thought I wanted to add is that Taylor wasn't in this episode, was she?
No, not at all.
Oh yeah, and we should maybe touch on the Chloe Janet stuff just
quickly, God, yeah.
Because like we were just
waiting
like
for that and I was waiting for it the whole season, and they finally gave it to us.
Yeah. I thought Janine Garofalo was classic in that one, that one delivery where Chloe's like, blah, 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 you can't do that. And she just turns and goes,
oh, really?
Really?
Yeah.
Classic Garofalo.
Yeah.
Classic Garofalo delivery.
Yeah.
So, no, I mean, yeah, that was fun. It added a little bit of humor. I laughed out loud a couple times. Like, added a little bit of humor to it. Yeah.
Really classic, because in the past, Chloe provided that weird little, should I be laughing now? In some of the most intense moments, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
They were really able to bring that little bit of comic relief back in the way that they started it.
And I do think the two actors, or actresses, have good chemistry with each other,
yeah,
too.
They do, yeah.
But of course, I'm sure they're acquainted because, you know, both of them were on the stand-up circuit for a really long time, you know, like female stand-up comics, so sort of an elite little circle, but...
Yeah. I'd love to be on set with those two and see what kind of stuff goes down.
Anything else?
No, that's it. Yeah. I mean, the there's not too much more to explore at length, because the points that were made in this episode were very hard-hitting, very singular. They weren't trying to cram a whole lot. Like, it was here's Jack and Tony, and here's...
Yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, just like boom, boom, boom. Here, deal with this, and this, and...
Well, so many episodes this season have basically just been about, you know, like, okay, well, we're going to set this up, and we're going to set this up, and we're going to set this up. And then you get one that's kind of like, it all comes together. Yeah. And I sort of felt, in a way, like this was that one, right? Yeah. Because, you know, the bio threat was neutralized. Because Jack and Tony came face to face, now that Jack knows Tony is bad. Mm-hmm. And I still keep doing the air quotes because I'm just not ready to accept that there is not some mitigating circumstance still.
No, I'm still
yet to be revealed. Like,
no, yeah. Yeah.
I was drawing a parallel to sort of season 3 where, it was episode 22 where all the really big sort of like, clashes went down. Saunders was captured. Michelle comes back with Tony. All of this stuff happens. And then it was almost like the actual stopping of the virus was sort of an afterthought because Saunders was the big bad guy. And once they had him, then, the rest was just sort of inevitable, right?
Yeah.
And, I don't really necessarily think that it's rest is inevitable feeling now, but they did really just go to a lot of things. Like, I thought the chase would be longer, and I knew that Jack and Tony were going to come face to face in this episode, but I wasn't expecting Tony to be taken into custody and all of that, right? And the Kim thing, it's funny because ever since this, even before the season premiered, there have been rumors online all about how Tony's going to hurt Kim, and there's spoilers out there about Tony kidnapping Kim and this and that. And so, it seems like it's coming to pass, but I don't know. I'm still somewhat withholding judgment. And
I'm
just
still
waiting to see what happens because the finale is really what's going to tie it all together, of course.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
It's pretty intense stuff, though.
I think there's further that Jack could go in his deconstruction, in his collapse.
And Tony, too.
And Tony, too.
Yeah. Like, you saw a crack in the scene between he and Jack, where, Jack's sitting here telling him, well, I have nothing left to lose because I'm going to die. And Tony's like, well, I really don't care if you put a bullet in my head right now because I have nothing left to live for either. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I think even before now, like, even in the very darkest days of the show, like, in the first 3 seasons, when Jack was at rock bottom after all the Nina stuff, like, I don't know that, any character has been just, like, quite at this point.
No.
As the two of them are both as individuals and in a relationship sense, too.
Yeah.
Like, just the look on Jack's face when he's just like, why did you betray me? Like, why? I just need to know why. Like, why did you do this? Because it's kind of like Jack, who's been betrayed by practically everyone he's ever loved, right?
Do you know what's amazing is how at the end of that scene, how after, all that confusion and hatred and anger and stuff comes out of Jack, how despite all of that, as soon as the two of them admitted to each other that they both lost everything.
Yeah.
It's like they looked at each other and they realized that they still had each other. There was still...
Almost, yeah. Like, there was a look that passed through Jack's face when he lowered the gun.
There was an acknowledgement of their bond. There was some kind of pity or defeat or connection.
You're right. Yeah, there was some kind of connection there. I totally agree. Because Jack could have shot Tony, but he didn't. The threat was already neutralized, so... Well, or was it? No, it wasn't at that point. But still though,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I definitely didn't get the impression from the scene anyway that Jack lowered his weapon and walked away because he needed information. They already knew what was happening, right?
Yeah.
So, he did it because he couldn't kill him.
Or... Well, yeah. I just keep thinking... When I think about these things, I always think about what if the opposite were true. What would have happened if he had killed Tony?
Uh-huh.
What would have Jack's emotional state have been? Any purpose to killing Tony?
You know what?
Giving Tony what he wants?
I think that Jack learned from killing Nina that the actual revenge is never as satisfying as you think it will be. Like, it's never as psychically satisfying, spiritually satisfying, emotionally satisfying as you imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And when he killed Nina, he experienced that. The emptiness of not having Terry anymore is still there.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he's killed Nina.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what he tried to explain to Tony in season 5 when he was saying, don't kill Henderson because it's not going to bring Michelle back. It's not going to help. It's not going to make you feel better about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, as much as he maybe, like, it was almost like he was playing a role, like, I'm going to kill you, blah, blah, blah. And when Tony knows Jack too well, like, and he wasn't intimidated by that. He wasn't affected by that. He's just... you're doing what I guess you have to do, and I'm doing what I have to do, because, like you already said, they both lost everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, fuck. That was, I think, the whole episode, like, that one scene made the whole episode worth it, even though there was still tons of other good stuff.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah, no, that was definitely the shining little jewel of the whole thing. So yeah.
So I think it's about time for us to say adieu because holy crap, we're at 38, 58, 59.
Oh, geez, and here I think
39 minutes.
Oh my god.
All right, good night, everybody.
Good night.
Don't forget to tune in next week for the finale because we have some very special stuff planned. If things go well, we're going to be partying and celebrating and drinking champagne and being exuberant and fielding questions. And if things don't go well, we're going to be drinking champagne and basically wallowing in our misery. So either way, next week, submit your questions to us.
Please do.
Episode-wise, whole season-wise, anything you want to know. Because we're going to do an extra special long debrief with mystery guest.
Yes.
And evening wear and champagne.
That's right.
So don't forget to tune in next week.
And make sure that you've got some refreshments on hand.
And Almeida be with you until then, if you still want him.
Almeida be with you.
Good night.